Today, we're talking about antibiotics, and I promise you, there's a huge part of this story that you have probably never heard before.
I mean, think about it. You get sick, you go to the doctor, and you walk out with a prescription for these medicines that kill bacteria. It's a totally normal experience for all of us. But what if I told you that our own personal use is just a tiny, tiny fraction of the bigger picture?
And that brings us to our first big shocker, the 80-20 surprise. We humans only consume about 20% of all the antibiotics produced in the entire world. So where's the other 80% going? To the poultry and animal farming industry. That's right, 4/5 of the world's antibiotics are being fed to farm animals. So that immediately begs a massive question, right? Why on earth are we pumping so many antibiotics into farm animals? Well, it turns out it really boils down to two main reasons, and the first one is actually pretty straightforward. So let's dive into reason number one. You can think of it as crowd control, and it's all about the realities of modern industrial farming. On most of these huge farms, you have thousands and thousands of animals packed into a really small space. And as you can imagine, those conditions are basically the perfect recipe for disease. It makes it incredibly easy for infections to just rip through a population like wildfire. So, to manage this huge risk, the animals are given a small dose of antibiotics in their food every single day. The whole idea is to prevent them from getting sick in the first place, rather than waiting to treat them after an outbreak has already started. And you can see why this makes perfect business sense. By keeping the animals from getting sick, farm owners save a ton of cash on vet bills and from losing animals to... All right, let's move on to reason number two, and you're going to want to pay close attention to this one. We'll call it the growth hack, because this is where things get really fascinating, and it's also the reason that makes these farms the most money. To get this, we just need a super quick biology lesson. See, inside every animal, and that includes you and me, our digestive system is full of these microbes called gut bacteria. Now, these little guys help with digestion, but in return, they also eat a little bit of the food that we eat. Okay, so here's the game changer. When you give these farm animals low-dose antibiotics every day, it kills off some of that gut bacteria. Now, digestion still works just fine, but suddenly, there's less competition for the food. With fewer bacteria grabbing a share, the animal's body gets to absorb way more nutrients from the exact same amount of feed. And the results, they are just astonishing. Let's look at the actual data. Normally, if you feed a chicken 2 kilograms of feed, its weight goes up by about 1 kilogram. Makes sense. But when you add antibiotics to that same 2 kilograms of feed, its weight shoots up by about 1.8 kilograms. It's an unbelievably effective way to grow animals bigger, faster, and more profitably. But of course, this efficiency comes at a very steep price. And that leads us right into the huge, serious downside of this whole practice, the hidden cost. Because while it's fantastic for profits, it is creating a massive global health crisis. All this massive overuse of antibiotics in farming is a major driver of what's called antimicrobial resistance. This is when bacteria literally evolve to beat the drugs that are designed to kill them. It creates superbugs that can cause infections in both animals and us that are becoming harder and in some cases impossible to treat. And let me be clear, this is not some far-off future problem. This is happening right now. Now, the good news is the world is finally starting to wake up to this threat. This isn't just a niche concern anymore. It's a recognized global challenge, and countries are actually starting to do something about it. I mean, just look at the timeline. Countries like Sweden and Denmark, and really the entire European Union, banned using antibiotics just for growth promotion way back in 2006. That's almost 2 decades ago. And much more recently, in 2020, China put some major new restrictions on antibiotic use in their animal farming industry. So you can see the ball is definitely rolling. So the takeaway here isn't all doom and gloom. As the world starts to move away from this practice, it opens up a huge door for innovation. For all the entrepreneurs out there, this global shift presents a massive challenge. But as the source material puts it, this is the opportunity, and you have to find a solution. So the question we're all left with is, what will that solution look like?